What's up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? Boogie298 coming at you live once again through the power of the internet. Now E3 is relatively over. I think all the games and all the news that we're going to see is officially out. I made a lot of Francis videos because they always do very well at this time of the year. But I also do like to do a bit of an E3 wrap-up at the end and tell you guys what I actually thought. As opposed to just the Francis version of stuff. But now I do have a sponsor who is very eager to advertise in this particular video, so give me a second to give a shout out to my friends over at Crunchyroll. Crunchyroll is the premier way to watch anime or read manga streamed directly to pretty much any device. PlayStation, Xbox, iPad, Android, you name it, it'll stream to it. They have a massive library of shows to watch, and they even get shows on the service within a couple of hours after they premiere in Japan, and they're professionally subtitled, most notably right now, Attack on Titan Season 2. So if you'd like to start streaming anime right now or reading manga, all you gotta do is go to crunchyroll.com/boogie, and you can start your 14-day ad-free trial, and if you do that, you'll be supporting me as well. I want to start off this year by saying a little bit of critical feedback for all the companies that did this. Good job this year, with the exception of like EA and Devolver Digital. They seem to treat everybody, Sony, PlayStation, Xbox, Bethesda, everybody seemed to treat this show with a lot of respect this year. No stupid comedy gags, no stupid aging celebrities from outside of the gaming industry. Most of the presenters had something to do with the gaming industry. EA still did their celebrity tie-in thing. I guess Xbox did the Porsche thing. But Ubisoft, holy moly, such a big difference this year. Ubisoft having video game presenters present their video games and to host the show. And there was only one dance number, which was pretty cringy and dabbing panda, But for the most part, even Ubisoft took the show very seriously this year. And I kind of owe that, I think we owe that to Jeff Keighley, and with the way that he tries to do the Video Game Awards every year. It's a very serious show for people who really like video games and care about the industry. And I think that's beginning to rub off on everybody else. They're beginning to care about their presentations more. I really appreciate that personally. Now, that's not to say that there wasn't a share of cringe. Jesse Wellens from, Boyfriend versus Girlfriend here on YouTube. Poor Jesse and his teleprompter not working, and I can only imagine the anxiety that would hit me if my teleprompter broke there. Sony and their sound issues, Sony and the people dangling from the ceiling, and of course dabbing panda from Ubisoft. Just huge chunks of the EA show overall. And then Bethesda kind of getting the social backslap from paid mods, which we made an entire video about, but we'll talk about that here again as well. But let's break it down by company here, and we'll talk about what I liked and what I didn't like. So Xbox, once again, came across as this very humbled company that is definitely very, very focused on the gamer and providing games. Their biggest thing this year was Xbox Scorpio, or now Xbox One X, which I originally hated that name because it sounds so much like the Xbox One S, so a lot of kids are going to get the wrong console for Christmas. But now that I realize that the Xbox One X abbreviation is XBOX, and it's just Xbox is the abbreviation for the Xbox One X, that makes a little more sense. Still a terrible marketing decision, but when it comes to the device itself, it is effectively the most powerful console ever made, and definitely puts the PlayStation Pro to shame. The price at about $500, I think, is frustrating because it makes it a bit more of a luxury item, especially for those people who already own an Xbox One that they got at maybe $300 or $250. They take it to GameStop and they sell it for $100, if that. Maybe they sell it on Craigslist for $200. It's still a $300 gap between your used Xbox and the new one. And I think at $500, you're not going to see a lot of people choosing that one as their brand new one, except maybe a handful of PC people who've been looking for a companion console. But I was hoping that the Xbox One X would be priced at a point where it would put it in everybody's home with a tremendous amount of power. I was hoping they would take a loss on it, honestly. Maybe Microsoft just doesn't feel they're positioned in a position where they can afford to take a loss on the Scorpio. So it makes sense. It's a powerful machine. The problem is I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that powerful machine yet. I mean, obviously, there's not going to be any exclusive games, just, exclusive settings for games moving forward. And I don't know how many game makers will actually do that. Obviously, first-party games from studios that Microsoft directly works with or owns, or games that they pay to have created, that'll take advantage of it. But I don't think it'll be that widespread. Now, they do say there's a lot of tools built in that are going to make the Scorpio look better on every game and even look good on a 1080p television. I just don't know if that's going to make people want to pull the trigger and spend all that extra money. So I don't know if it'll be a success. I do know I'm getting one as soon as I can. I'm already putting in my pre-order ASAP. Going into this, Xbox definitely had an exclusivity problem with not a lot of exclusive games, and you can tell like they took that very, very personally. So they have got a lot of, console first exclusives coming out, mostly smaller indie games, a handful of smaller Midland games, and of course they got their handful of exclusives, but they were definitely all about messaging about exclusives. The problem is a lot of them are smaller games that the majority of players will never even hear of or never even play. That kind of sucks. But at least they're exclusive to the console. And some of them aren't exclusive to the console. They're just exclusive on console first. Some of them have already been on PC. Some of them will dual release at the same time on PC. And then basically they're just saying these games aren't coming to Sony for a while. Of all of the smaller games, though, the ID and Xbox games that are coming that have either a timed exclusive or are exclusives, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds is a gold star game with like 3 million people already playing it on PC. I play that game all the time. It's going to stay installed on my PC for the rest of my life. That is a game that I think is very exciting that's coming to Xbox One first or exclusively. It's kind of what H1Z1 was supposed to be if Sony had not sold off Sony Online Entertainment. If they kept a hold of that company and kept funding that project, they would have had a game that good. But they didn't. Of the actual exclusives that Xbox has coming up, Crackdown 3, the Terry Crews spot was very, very cool. I love Terry Crews. But that said, Crackdown 3 looks great, but it seems like it's gotten some sort of secret downgrade, because if you remember, the first trailers were all about environmental destruction and connecting to the cloud for processing and stuff like that. Doesn't seem like that's the design of the game anymore. They didn't really talk about that much. I hope that it's still environmental destruction oriented, because that's what I looked forward to. Forza 7, of course, looks amazing, as always. But the one that I think is exciting more than anything else is Sea of Thieves, because originally I thought that was just going to be a multiplayer ship-to-ship combat thing. That's not what it is. It does look like it's a full-on Rareware game with a lot of stuff to do, with a multiplayer focus still, but some real depth. I mean, literal depth, because people are diving into the ocean, but treasure hunting and survival, and I hope that it's cool. I hope that it's cool. The one thing truly missing to me at this conference, though, was virtual reality and augmented reality. They're the ones really pushing augmented reality, but then they didn't tie it into the Xbox Scorpio in any way. And I think that's still coming after it launches. We'll talk about it next year, hopefully as early as Gamescom. But that said, I really felt that was missing, because I still don't know what I'm supposed to do with all of the extra power on my Xbox Scorpio other than play older games. PlayStation's show this year was kind of lackluster, which is kind of weird with all of the money they spent with like waterfalls and double screens and live music and stuff like that. I don't know. It was much ado about nothing in a lot of ways. The only thing that really frustrated me, though, about the PlayStation conference wasn't the lack of sound at the beginning of it. It was simply that Destiny 2 will once again have exclusive content on the PlayStation version. And I don't know if there will be time content as well, but if there is, I hate that practice. And even if this time it is just one strike and a handful of exclusive gear, I really think this is a very anti-consumer practice, especially because I plan to play it on on PC instead of console this time when it does come out for PC. So why do that to people? I hope Destiny 2 is the last game that they ever do this with on PlayStation. I hope this practice ends here. The other thing I found frustrating, though, was the lack of Last of Us 2 information. If you were going to tease me that game last year, then why not give me information about the game this year? At least something, maybe a potential release date. Even if the release date's going to be 2020, I want to know. But the fact that there was really not much of anything about that game this year, super frustrating to me. What they did get right was the games, and even though a lot of these games did not have release dates or anything like that, it is nice knowing that these games are coming down the pipe, specifically when it comes to their exclusives. They spent a lot of time on the new Spider-Man game, and I guess that's supposed to be the flagship game for the next year or two, and I think they said it was coming out in 2018. I heard a lot of complaints about QuickTime events, and I'm not a huge fan of QuickTime events either, but I will tell you, if they are used in the way that it looks like they are used here, in this God of War style fashion, I think that's amazing. If it's a part of the narratives exclusively and not a part of the regular combat, I think that's fine. Or if it's a part of the regular combat and is used sparingly for really awesome stuff, then I think that's fine. The God of War style, I've always been okay with QTEs in God of War, and I hope that this is the God of War of Spider-Man games. Which then, of course, leads into the new God of War game, which looks amazing to me. I like the graphics. I like the combat that I've seen so far. I, like everybody else, am still very concerned about that narrative, because I'm used to Kratos being this overly angry, overly mad, overly almost demonically vengeful person who will kill anyone and anything to get his vengeance. That seems like a very different Kratos in this game. But then again, I like it when my video games grow up along with me. So a different Kratos, as long as it gets cool, is great. I still think the kid's going to die halfway through and he's going to go batshit nuts the way Kratos normally does. I don't want to watch the kid die just to see that, though. They had a 10-minute block in there on PlayStation VR and showed off some VR games. And I still love my PlayStation VR. I still love VR in general and really enjoy using it. The problem is there's just not been a lot of compelling games. And unfortunately, in that little collage, there's not a lot of compelling games for me. Final Fantasy 15 fishing. I mean, obviously, Skyrim and Fallout 4 are getting VR versions, but you have to pay the entire price for those games for another time. And I'm most likely to play those on PC anyway so that I can stream it. I continue to worry that PlayStation VR will go the way of the Vita, which was not mentioned at all this year. That console is officially dead. That handheld is just done, I guess, as far as PlayStation's concerned. I'm worried that's going to happen to PlayStation VR 2 if they do not invest in a high-profile game, a AAA game, throw some real money at a real developer to provide something for PlayStation VR exclusivity, even if they'll lose money on it. If they don't do that, I really don't think the system's really going to do much, and console players may never get VR until Xbox comes around with augmented reality. Then let's see, there is Knack 2 that's coming out on September 5th, but I don't think anybody other than Video Game Donkeys are going to care about that game. The PlayStation Experience is coming back, which I will probably go to this year if I'm able to fly out to it, and the Video Game Awards, and they're in the same area at the same time. The new Uncharted spin-off game, I'm not a huge Uncharted fan. I really couldn't get into 4, so I don't know how that's going to work out. Let's see. Oh, the game that really blew me away, though, was Days Gone. I, just like everybody else, is kind of bored with just fighting zombies. Just fighting zombies is not compelling. What is compelling to me is the way that The Walking Dead treats the undead is just an element in the world that people have to deal with, right? That can be used against you or maybe catch you unaware. The real story is how people react in a post-apocalyptic world that zombies are just a part of. That's what they seem to be doing with Days Gone now. They definitely showed a lot of different gangs and a lot of different people and what it was like to try to survive and how crazy and vicious people can be in a post-apocalyptic world. That's what's interesting to me. And now that I know that Days Gone is going in that direction, I'm very impressed. I was a little bit impressed last year when they showed the dude killing like 800 zombies at once. That was cool. But to see him fighting people and even using zombies to kill those people, that was very cool to me. Shadow of the Colossus is getting a remake, and this isn't just a reskin, it's a full-on from-the-ground-up remake. So for those of us who have never played it, me being one of them, we will be able to experience what people experienced the first time, these wonderful graphics where you climb the side of a Colossus. I look forward to that. PlayStation is getting an exclusive Monster Hunter game, though it doesn't look like a hardcore Monster Hunter game like the DS games. It's weird that Nintendo has the hardcore version. A lot of people have been saying Monster Hunter World looks more casual. I don't really know because I can't really read the text on the DS games, and I didn't play the Wii U version, so this will be my first Monster Hunter game. Hopefully it'll be good. Then finally, PlayStation does have probably the most provocative game, the one that's caused the most discussion on the internet so far, which would be Detroit, a human evolved or something like that. The one about the androids like becoming sentient and deciding to run amok. Fascinating stuff. More importantly, fascinating conversations I've heard about it as people talk about the political correctness of it or what the story ultimately detail or what it means. I think it's just going to be a cute narrative game by the guys over there at Heavy Rain, but a lot of people are expecting a lot from that game. I think a lot of them are going to be let down because I think it's just going to be a short but very interesting video game with some replay value with that butterfly effect. So this year's PlayStation conference just came across as like fairly ostentatious. With not a lot of the things that I wanted in there. I mean, a lot of games to play and no release dates, but games that are eventually coming. And I'm interested in 90% of the games they showed, and it's a lot of good games. But again, just a little frustrating because I really wish there was more PSVR support. I really wish there was some Vita support. And I really feel like it was, once again, much ado about not much. EA brought the cringe, once again, as they tend to do, whether it's them talking about esports or getting these stars who don't really care about video games or getting YouTube personalities whose teleprompters fail. But it's forgivable because they have two really good games I'm looking forward to, or at least I hope they're going to be good. The first of which is Battlefront 2, and I will tell you, they definitely ate some crow on stage, admitting that, Battlefront definitely had a lot of constructive feedback and that they wanted to design the game that everybody was asking for. And it looks like they learned a lot of the lessons, including saying that all of the DLC will be free, which kind of guarantees there will be microtransactions in there, but hopefully they'll be in a fair way and cosmetic only. But that said, I think the game looks absolutely fantastic so far. They showed a lot of multiplayer and it looked great. They showed tiny, tiny snippets of the storyline, and I'm sure it'll be similar to Battlefield 1's storyline, which was amazing. Short but amazing. That's what I'm hoping from Battlefront. I think it's definitely going to be a game worth picking up. But again, I'm waiting for the reviews because EA has not earned my trust for a very long time and did not earn it back with this. But then the second game would be a prison break game called A Way Out. And that game actually looks really fantastic because it is a co-op game. And I thought that they said it was a couch co-op only game, but that it could be played couch co-op and could be played online with somebody. Hopefully, you'll have both options. Either way, I'm going to try to convince my wife to play it. But the two lead characters do look like they're from Trailer Park Boys. One of them looks exactly like Julian, and the other one looks like Cyrus. And I can't get that out of my head ever since I saw that on Twitter. So that just makes me want to play the game more, though. Bethesda this year, I think, definitely had the worst show. They kind of pooped the bed, to be honest with you. They brought all those people together and put them in an auditorium to show them a 40-minute pre-recorded video. Why do that? Why spend all that money to just do what is effectively just a giant Nintendo Direct? And while there is Wolfenstein 2 in there, which I do care deeply about and very much want to play, there was not much of anything else, just like DLC for games that already exist and repackagings of games that we already exist. Where's the new Elder Scrolls game, or where is this space-oriented Elder Scrolls game that we keep getting promised? I don't understand why they even held a press conference this year if that's all they were going to do. That and piss off the internet by returning a version of paid mods, even though it's not paid mods. It's much better than the original paid mod situation. But still, I don't know. Really just weird. I don't know what's going on over that company, but I did not enjoy their show, and I don't think it helped them. I think it hurt them in the long run. Nintendo, on the other hand, had some pretty decent stuff. A lot of smaller games, like very distant projects like Kirby and Yoshi for the Switch. Super Mario Odyssey, though, looks like it's going to be the Breath of the Wild of Mario games. It looks like there's a ton of content there, and it's a collect-a-thon done right. It seems like it's harkening back to the Mario 64 days, and if it's that big, if it's that good, with that much gameplay, please let it be. Please let it be. And if it is, oh my gosh, the Switch is going to be the most successful console in a long time. Nintendo also wanted to deliver two messages very strongly. First, that the 3DS is not done for. There will be more games coming out for your 3DS. If you still own one or you still want to get one, it's worth picking up because new games are coming out, like the Metroid game. I think there's only going to be a handful left, maybe a dozen, but they are coming down the pipeline. The second message that they want to deliver is that we are getting third-party support with games like Xenoblade Chronicles 2 coming to the system. More importantly, Rocket League coming to the system, which is a great game to play multiplayer. And if you can play it all in one room together with your friends, I think that would be amazing. So I hope that they continue to woo third-party support like Rocket League, specifically with games like that are so perfectly tailored for what the Switch can do. Again, I think it could be a very, very successful console if they can keep that up. But then finally, Ubisoft, who is a company that I don't trust very much anymore to make a good game or to make a game put together well, especially with stuff like For Honor having happened in the last year, which was a great game that just supported poorly. I was so impressed with their show this year. I was obviously impressed that they had Miyamoto out there presenting this new Kingdom Battler game, Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle, which is very XCOM-ish, but it looks like it's a funny, off-the-wall, campy style of XCOM with Mario and Rabbids. Like, that game is incredibly unique and new and different, and I'm so grateful for it. The new Assassin's Creed Origins, which is Assassin's Creed Egypt, once again, looked very, very strong. I think it's going to have a lot of animation issues and texture issues still, even though they gave it an extra year to work on. But I look forward to making fun of the bugs while enjoying the gameplay. The Crew 2 is a big surprise. I enjoyed the first Crew and probably put 30 hours into it. I am obsessed with the idea of exploring the entire United States in one map, which is obviously it's an edited version of the United States, leaving out most of Arkansas, but adding boats and planes. Holy moly, I'm really looking forward to that game. They did show that virtual reality game with Elijah Woods, which looks kind of cringeworthy. Skull and Bones looks like all of the boat gameplay from Assassin's Creed Black Flag, but without the Assassin's Creed in it. So I'm very interested in that. It looks like it's all the same assets and a lot of the same gameplay. And if it is, holy crap, that's going to be amazing. I'm sure they'll screw it up with peer-to-peer transfer and with microtransactions, but other than that, it looks great. The Starlink game, which is I used it in a Francis video. It's a amiibo style game where you're using the toys to life. Somebody said Starlink. It was No Man's Sky with amiibo, so it's No Man's Skylanders. I guess Ubisoft didn't get the menu that genre is dying right now, and Walmart hates stocking it. But I guess they're going to give it a shot anyway. And of course, Far Cry 5 still continues to be epic. I really look forward to it. The star of the show, overall, though, the game that made everybody go nuts, and I'm sure it won't be out for another 10 years, but Beyond Good and Evil 2 looks incredible. I know there's a lot of people that celebrate Beyond Good and Evil because it has, a lot of diversity, a black female lead. And that's one reason to celebrate it, but the reason I celebrate it is just because of how bizarrely different it actually is. The storyline, the concepts of it, just all weird and unique, and this trailer brought all of that to the table. I'm sure it's a game that won't be out for another decade, but when it is, I think it'll be very fun to play. It might be better to watch. I don't know why they just don't make a movie. And then, of course, Ubisoft has the South Park game finally with a release date, I think, of October. And then they're even working on a South Park mobile game called Phone Destroyer. And these are the people who attacked microtransactions in games, and now they're selling a microtransaction-filled game. So you know it's going to be funny and hypocritical and stupid, and I can't wait to play it. So that leads to the inevitable question, who won E3? And of course, my answer is always the players. But if you want to know who had the best show with the best games lineup, was it PlayStation? Was it Xbox? I think this year I would personally give it to Ubisoft because they have a ton of games I'm interested in playing if they don't mess them up, which I don't know that they will, but if they do not mess them up, they have a ton of games I'm interested in playing, and they were definitely the most improved show. I missed Aisha Tyler, don't get me wrong, but I will say that it was not that cringeworthy this year. They took it very seriously. They had some very, very good games, and overall, just because it was so vastly improved over the previous years, I would give them almost that for that alone. Now, just don't screw up those games, Ubisoft, and you might get back on top. When it comes to Xbox versus PlayStation, though, that's almost too tough to call, because Xbox has a few good games, but new hardware to play my third-party games on, which is exciting to me. But PlayStation has the old Pro, which is not near as good a hardware, but has a ton of games I'm excited to play. So it's kind of a toss-up there. I don't know which one to be excited about more, so I'm kind of excited about both. But that's just one man's opinion. I could be wrong, and I know that you have your opinion, and it's just as important and as valid as mine. And I would love to read it if you'll leave it in the comments section below. While you're down there, don't forget to check out my sponsor, Crunchyroll.com/boogie. If you click on that link in the description box below, you'll be doing me a favor, and I really appreciate it if you would. I look forward to reading your comments and hearing what you have to say. Guys, as always, thanks for watching. I love you very much. I'll speak with you again soon. Happy E3.